that is fantastic, and I am as I get to know more this community, which I always was aware of it. And back in college, my college roommate had gone through recovery, but now through Charlie, I've become more in touch with the community, and I see the similarities. I see the connectivity, which is the total opposite to the lack of connection that leads to the drinking. You guys,
Right.
you build a community. You welcome everyone. It's a beautiful thing to not only to see but to be a part of. Uh, as someone who doesn't have that experience, you still feel the power of what you do for yourselves and for others. Let me go back to something you said real quick, because
Yeah.
you had you mentioned that you were going to therapy for about 10 years before you openly were sharing your story, and then from then
Yes.
on, the last 8, you've been sharing, not only sharing your story, but you've been actually certified as a coach and helping other people. But for you personally, how did your process, or I should say, did your process change on your day to day from before you were very open and public about your story to after you became public with your story?
So, yeah, when I was in the throes of my addiction, it was hidden, right? People knew I drank, and they knew I drank. Oh, look at Matt. He's got such tolerance. They didn't realize I'd been drinking all day long, right? Um, then I got recovery, and though that those 10 years, it was hard because I felt so much shame still, even though I knew there was no shame behind it. Right, we're going back 8 years ago, and there's still a stigma now, as you saw on the comments on my post on social media. Um, I felt the shame. I kept it hidden. It was another secret. It took its toll on me. It weighed on me, and then once I came out of that, I woke up. I wake up different. I wake up not as heavy. I wake up knowing what my purpose is. I had a purpose. I was a personal trainer, as a father, as a husband. But I felt in that period, those 10 years, I felt somewhat lost because I wasn't being my authentic self. My authentic self, whether I became a coach or not for recovery, whether all the things I've been doing in the last couple of years came to fruition, I do know that when I kept it to myself, I was doing myself a disservice. So when I started talking about it, I felt like I was me. And not everybody wants to talk about it. We still have our clients now. They don't want to tell people. Fine, you don't have to tell people, as long as you're not hiding it from people, right? You don't. You can say things like, "Well, look what I do for a living. I'm a personal trainer. I just, the sober curious movement has helped out a lot with this to make it not as big a deal to not drink." But for me, I felt like I was not my true self, my authentic self. And then once I told my story, it made it, a weight was lifted off. It was like I had that. It was only, you ever have one of those weighted blankets on you? They feel good at first. And after a while, I feel like I'm trapped. Not a fan of those blankets at all. Um, they feel really snug at first. Oh, I feel so good. And then I'm like, wait, I can't move. Oh my God. Then anxiety builds. And that's how I felt when I was keeping it to myself. Um, I didn't want, oh, we're going out for dinner. Honey, can you cover for me? Then all of a sudden it becomes like, again, she's enabling me to protect me, and protect yourself, because, there's part of that. Even now, people will say, when I post something, she's been at a new company for the last couple of years. Then once I started posting it and we shared it on her social media once, all of a sudden, oh my God, I read his story. And then it threw her back into the throes of it,
Mhm.
where it's my story, and now she feels bad, which is the hard part for a lot of people, because it was our kid who I almost endangered, right? But coming out of it, on the other side of it, I feel lighter. I feel I feel like I am me, right? People associate me with being in fitness and being in recovery. I'll get messages on both sides, and speaking my voice about it. And I actually had one person say to me, you've been sober for 18 years. You're not really in recovery anymore." And I'm like, "You need to understand, I am always going to be one drink away from a relapse, plain and simple." So yes, I'm always in recovery, and that's why I talk about it so much. And it's amazing because I'm so open about it, and I'll joke about it. My kids all know. We talk about it all the time. All of my sons, my son in university, all of his friends know, and we joke about it. We moved my son into his apartment with his roommates. It's his second year, back in September, and they had a table there that had three legs. I was not aware that it had three legs, and I leaned on it, and the table fell. I'm like, whoa, Matt, are you okay? There's only three legs there. And a room full of these guys, these college guys who were all hungover. I'm like, oh, thank God. I thought I started drinking again all of a sudden, and they were dying of laughter because we make it so that we can talk about it. And they've even come to me saying, "Hey, I think so and so might be having a problem. Hey, well, this is what you got to look for." So it's great that when you recover out loud, it also allows people who are struggling and recovering silently to know their support.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful, and I think that is right in line with, at least, everything I've heard so far, is that feeling of shame, that you know being quiet, not wanting people to know because of some sort of shame. And the moment you overcome that, it doesn't mean you have to become a certified coach. It doesn't mean that you
No,
have to
not
do
at
any of that
all.
stuff. It's just to be able to openly discuss the process of what led you to this point and the process you're following as you move forward. So I think that's wonderful. Wonderful. Um, Matt, we are almost out of time, so I'd like to give you an opportunity here uh, to leave the audience with something, and then also tell people where they can find your book, and maybe your website or your tools. So if you want to tell people three things about addiction, what will you tell them?
Three things about addiction. I wasn't even thinking this stuff. Three things about addiction. The first one I'll tell you is it's not your fault, right? Some people think, why me? Why me? Because we were lucky enough to be given the gene that likes it. It's not your fault, right? Most of the time, we're trying to hide from or escape from some sort of a trauma, big or small, capital T, small t, whatever it is, we're escaping from that trauma. So, number one, it's not your fault. And know that it's not your fault. Number two, there is so much support out there, you don't have to do it alone. If you feel that you need to do it alone, that you're in a situation where, for whatever reason, it needs to be remain anonymous, or you just don't want to go through with it in public, follow along to the people like myself or Hillary's, or listen to the podcast here. There are so many of us out there who can help guide you, even if you're doing it all by yourself. On that note, sidebar, reach out to one of us. It's still anonymous. No one of us will turn around and say, "Yes, we want to help you, but we want to plaster your name everywhere." We can help you online any way you want. And the last one, there is so much more on the other side of recovery. And I have this, I have a line of shirts that I had printed up where one of the lines is, recovery or sobriety gives you everything that addiction promised. And that's a huge one for me because I have friends of mine who will say to me, "Matt, every time we're together, I think we're all drinking because we have so much fun together." Right? Myself, the person I used to be, is still there. I'm comfortable enough with knowing that I can just be me. And I'll tell you, I don't have to be around people who are drinking. I don't have to be around people who are not drinking. I'm just, I know why I don't, and that's good enough for me. So those are the three things I'd give you right there.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Matt. Where can people find you and your book and your tools?
So, number one, my website is wedorecover.life. That's my main site where I offer tools as well as coaching. I do all my coaching virtually. So, over the phone through Google Meets or Zoom. I can be anywhere. It's also the way I do my personal training. Uh, my book is right now on Amazon. It's through my name, Matthew Tobe. The book is called Sober AF Breaking Through, a Guide to Overcoming Alcohol Addiction. It's a really simple guide for tools. You can get it on Kindle, uh, paperback, or hardback. It's just a simple book. Every chapter starts off with a bit of my life and my situation in that moment to get to what the recovery process was. And I'm currently writing my second book, which is a lot of my story, and then the tools along behind it that are different tools, a little more involved tools. And then on social media, at Matthew Tobe on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of it. My brand is my name. And reach out. I'm happy to help anybody, talk to anybody, support anybody. If I can't work with you, I can recommend people who can. It's that simple. We're a big community of people who just want to help out.
This has been wonderful, Matt. This has been educational for me. Thank you for making the time. It is a pleasure
Anytime, my
meeting
friend.
you. I hope we can meet face to face someday and share more of these stories.
100%. 100%.
Thank you very much.